Hey, Washington campus, Brad here with some encouragement and a look ahead at some things happening this coming weekend as part of our worship services. I want to talk to you today. Something we talked about last week is we began looking at the marks of a disciple. And by that, what I mean is things that Jesus specifically said that if we want to consider ourselves one of his disciples, these things should be true of us. And so last week, I talked about that Jesus said that we should love him more than anything else, more than anyone else. And remember, that doesn't mean that we need to love people less, but we want to love Jesus more. That in comparison, there is no comparison between how much we love Jesus and the other people that are important to us in our life. Well, this week I want to talk about another one that has to do with love, that Jesus said that this will mark us as his disciples, as those who say, yes, we follow Jesus. This will be true of us. And it's found in John 13, verses 34 and 35. Jesus says, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. So not only are we called by Jesus to love him more than anyone else, but he reaffirms that we should have love for one another. And in fact, he says this will show the world that we are his disciples if we have love for others, if we have love for one another. Now, there's something interesting about this, that as you see that verse, as you hear that verse, you notice Jesus says, a new commandment I give to you. And you might think, well, I'm not sure if this is a new command, because weren't we already commanded to love others? And you'd be right. In the Old Testament, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18, we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. Jesus would share this when they asked him, remember when they said, what's the greatest commandment? He said, well, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And that prompted the question, well, who's my neighbor? And then Jesus told the parable of the Good Samaritan. But when he says in this verse, as he often does, he takes things next level, goes deeper, goes to our heart. The reason he says a new commandment I give to you is he says not just to love others. This isn't love others as we love ourselves. He says love them, and remember what he said. Notice, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another even as I have loved you. So now the standard is not let me love people like I love myself. We're called as disciples to love people the way Jesus demonstrated love towards us. Wow, that takes the bar next level. Because you and I might have examples of, wow, I want to be like this person. They are so caring, they are so loving, and we set that as our goal. Jesus says, no, the bar is even higher. He calls on us to love people the way he loved us. So let's think about that for a minute. What are some of the ways, or how did Jesus demonstrate and live out his love for us? Well, there's a lot. I just want to give you three that come to mind for me. One is he loved us unconditionally. Jesus didn't love us because we were lovable. He didn't love us because of the way we made him feel. And if we're honest, that is often the fatal flaw for us as we approach human relationships. We only like people or love people because of what we get out of it, because of what they do or mean to us. But biblical love, agape love, which is the love that's described here, is unconditional. It's a choice. We determine to love the other person, not because of who they are, but because God calls us to love them. And so Jesus loved unconditionally. He also loved, and this is one that as I think of how, and I read the Gospels and I read and see Jesus in action, this has been on my heart lately as I just see this more and more. He loved people tirelessly. When you see what's going on in Jesus' life, he's always available to people. Yes, there are times where he pulls away, but people come to him. He never sees people as an interruption. Anyone that comes, he has time for them. He gives them his focus, his attention, his time, and that requires a lot. And so he never says, I'm not going to talk to you, or I don't have time for this. And so he tirelessly is willing to give himself to people. And that leads into the third one. He loves people unconditionally. He loved us tirelessly. And of course, he loved us. He loved people sacrificially. He was willing to give his life for us so that we could be reconciled to God. And so if we are going to love people, if you're going to make that choice, as Jesus calls us as his disciples, to love others, to love one another, it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you time. It may cost you other things, but it's going to cost you. But that's biblical love. And that's what we're called to as those who say, yes, I want to follow Jesus. Well, that was just three. unconditional, tirelessly, sacrificially. I'm curious, when you think of Jesus and his life, what do you see? How did he demonstrate love to people? I'd love if you'd share that in the comments. If you can think of the verse, put that in there. We'll encourage one another. But what are some examples, or how do you think Jesus loved people? How did he live that out? What jumps out to your mind? Love to see that in the comments below, so let us know that. Well, a couple things as we look to this coming Sunday. One, I'm excited. We're going to have a couple baptisms in our 10:45 service. Remember, our Sunday morning services are now 9 and 10:45. So this is Baptism Sunday. We're going to have 2 baptisms in the second service. Can't wait to hear that story. We are super excited about that. The other thing is, this is the bad news, this is Spring Forward weekend, so you got to set your clocks ahead 1 hour. So that's right, you're going to lose an hour of sleep. I haven't told Karen yet. This is my wife's least favorite day of the year, so I don't know when I'm going to, no pun intended, spring that on her. But yeah, this coming weekend, Saturday night, make sure you set those clocks ahead. And so when you do that, can't wait to see you on Sunday morning at 9 or 10:45 here at the Washington campus. Until then, let's press on.